guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. I'm Brian, and today I'll be talking about Coyote from CBS. Coyote is a new show that is premiering on CBS Access. It was originally going to be premiering on Paramount Network, and they decided to buy it here on CBS, and they released the first 6 episodes just last night. This show stars Michael Chiklis, who's about to retire as a border agent, and he ends up getting caught up in this big mess with the cartels in Mexico. To be honest, I was pretty excited to check this one out. I really did enjoy The Shield. I think it's one of the more underrated shows. I think Michael Chiklis is really good in these kind of roles, and the show is definitely not an exception to that. I think he knocks it out of the park as this character, Ben. He's really a conflicted character, and I really thought in the first episode I knew what I was getting. I was like, okay, this is going to be one of those kind of shows. I kind of knew where I was going to go with it, and it really grew on me as the series moved along. It shifted from what I thought was going to be more of a traditional law enforcement story, fighting the cartel, things like that, to a story about, in a lot of ways, a family drama, a story about morality, and kind of the same vein as Breaking Bad in a lot of ways. This show, don't get me wrong, by no means is not as good as Breaking Bad. I mean, it's an iconic, legendary show, but it has similar elements to it. You're having the idea of someone having to go against their morals to protect those they love, and kind of diving into why people get into the crime scene. And one of the things I found interesting in particular about the show is, while you are mostly focused on Michael Chiklis' character, they do dive into some of the cartel members and their personal lives and why they became who they are. There's even a lot of flashbacks to their childhood and their youth that may have led to them being the way that they are, and I think that's an interesting take. I don't really love that, justify these horrible actions of these horrible people, and they do make them out to be horrible. They don't make you sympathetic to them, but it helps build the idea of why people end up in these horrible positions, and it doesn't take a horribly political stance, which I do like about it. Was also worried about that going into it. We're going to really be diving into immigration and really the meddling of what goes on in that whole sphere of politics. But it doesn't do that. It really focuses on why people might be trying to cross the border, why people have these horrible connections with the cartel and get trapped, and these communities are just destroyed, and it does that in a more subtle way than being really ham-fisted with it. And the show is able to pull off some of the reins that network television has. Because it is on CBS All Access, they're allowed to curse. There's some really gory and gritty nature to it. And that way, it does also have a similar vein to Breaking Bad in that facet. There's a lot of violence. There's some gruesome deaths that go on. Michael Chiklis has some good action scenes. There's some good gunfighting. There's things that people would be drawn in for the surface level aspects of that, but then you're able to stay for some really intriguing character growth, in particular with the main character from the beginning of the story. He's a guy living in a very black and white world. He thinks of one way or the other, and he slowly gets to realize how things can get far more muddled than he ever thought they would. And by the end of the 6 episodes, he's a completely changed character. You still get that gritty, loose cannon, I don't care kind of mentality that you like from a Michael Chiklis character, but it does slowly dive into more of someone who's conflicted in their internal beliefs and trying to protect their family against what may be conflicting with their own morality. The show also has some really good cinematography. You get some great wide shots of this sweeping landscape. A lot of it takes place in this small little homestead that's right on the edge of the coast. I was trying to look up where the show was actually filmed, if it was filmed in Mexico. It looks like a lot of it was filmed in Baja, California, with some really beautiful landscapes, some desert shots, just really good panning shots across these really beautiful vistas. And then at times it knows when to really draw in and focus on these characters and create some tension. In particular, I think it's the 5th episode. There's some long segments where these characters are building tension. You know that something bad's going to happen, something's going to pop off any second. The show does have quite a few twists and turns. I don't want to give away too many spoilers in this review because it just came out yesterday. I think a lot of people might want to check it out, especially if you're fans of The Shield or these kind of shows that deal with cartels. And so overall, the first 6 episodes, I've really enjoyed. It's something that I didn't expect it to be. I thought it was going to be pretty generic. I thought it was just going to be almost in a way a procedural show, but it's turned out to be this interweaving story that has gone from just one man trying to save someone fighting the cartel to a really in-depth storyline about morality and what causes people to do bad things and when things can be justified, and just that overall concept of maybe a good person doing bad things because of their circumstance. It's really able to draw on some solid acting, some good cinematography, and some interesting storytelling. Like I said, there's a lot of interweaving facets that are happening. It does get a little off the rails when you first start watching it compared to the first, second episode. It gets a little bigger, a little wider, what's happening with the story. But I think by the time you end up in the 5th and 6th episode, you start to flesh it out. You start to understand what's happening, and I'm really interested to see how it goes moving forward. So if you're someone who's checked out Coyote, let me know what you think about it. Do you think that they handled the overall content of the show really well? Do you like how the direction the show is taking? How do you feel about it kind of shifting from the first episode to where we are in the 6th episode? Do you think that it moved too quick? Do you like the story? Do you like the idea of how they're kind of expanding this whole situation that he's involved in? I really would like to know in the comments, because I don't know how many people will actually check out the show. It being on CBS All Access, I don't know if it'll ever actually end up on CBS. I don't think it could because of the violence and the cursing and everything like that. But I'm interested to see what you think about it. So again, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.